Hi, my name is Luiza Macedo, and I'm from the class of 2019. I studied political science and economics, and I'm here with another alumnus, Max Vargas.
Hi, Max Vargas. I'm an alum from the class of 2009 for my undergrad here in political science at University of the Pacific and from McGeorge School of Law in 2016.
Max, why did you choose Pacific and how did you end up here?
I went to high school in Modesto, so not far from here, and I knew the area. But I'm originally from Peru, and as somebody who was an immigrant and traveled around and moved around quite a bit in my younger days, I'd seen a little bit of the East Coast, seen a bit of the West Coast, and by the time I was applying to college, I had a chance to tour the beautiful campus, meet with some of the staff. Certainly the financial aid package and other support systems were important. And even the feel for the campus, as I mentioned, having seen various communities in other parts of the country, had this sort of East Coast vibe on the West Coast feel. And the class sizes on top of that were something that just jumped out.
So I ended up at Pacific very similarly. I had traveled around the country a little bit as well with my family after immigrating from Brazil. Landed in California and I wanted to stay here. And then I got into the Pacific Legal Scholars Program and the PAL Scholars Program. And those two really made me feel like I'd be supported at Pacific. I didn't want to go and do it on my own. I wanted that backup and that cohort supporting me. So that's how I ended up at Pacific.
That's great.
So why did you choose to study political science at Pacific?
Well, for me, political science and really politics and governance were always really important. As mentioned, I'm an immigrant from Peru. When I first came to this country, it was because we were fleeing terrorism in Peru. Was lucky enough at that point in time to get asylum. So my family was granted political asylum. I actually came as an unaccompanied minor at age 5. And as part of that process, as you can imagine, I was very politicized to some extent. We're really aware of what happens when systems aren't in place, when there is inequity, when there's not support, when the social contract between the community, between the people and its government and its institutions falls apart. And that's what drew me to the political science programming here at University of the Pacific. In fact, I had a chance to do some hands-on work, both locally through organizations while I was here, as well as in Sacramento with the National Council of La Raza, now called Unidos US, and working on legislation, working on policy, and on top of that, working on organizing at the statewide level. So getting a chance to do a lot of that same work that I'd studied in the classroom at the state capitol here. So it was a great experience and something that the program through the University of the Pacific, through its political science program, through its internship and externship programs, I had the opportunity to really get my hands into.
Yeah. And related to that, how would you say that Pacific prepared you to take on those externships and internships and even post-graduation to get really started in your career?
Well, there was, I think, a real premium on practicums and coursework that entailed real-life case studies, things from within the textbook, but even out into the community. I recall one of my first programs was through a course that involved us in the community. And so I had a chance to do work locally for local nonprofits, helping with civic engagement, helping with education efforts, and all through the lens of Pacific-sponsored programming.
So you're mentioning this like coursework and these opportunities off campus and on campus. How would you say that really shaped your passion and your drive post-graduation?
That's kind of the exciting full circle part for me, is getting a chance to both learn all these lessons, bring all this opportunity forth through the mayor's office, and then get a chance to work with you there. Another alum leading work in the program, leading outreach, and first within the office and then afterwards in the program. And I don't know if you want to touch on the program and share a little bit about just how much that has meant to the community and how much that maybe has meant to you in the work.
Yeah, I always say that Pacific put me at the right place at the right time, like I've already said. And SEED was definitely a part of that, the Stockton Economic Empowerment Demonstration, which was the nation's first mayor-led guaranteed income demonstration. And at first I was like, yeah, this is a great opportunity to really expand my foundation of skills and community outreach, and it was going to be a challenge for me. I didn't realize how much of a challenge. When you have a community that's been historically disenfranchised, they've been neglected for so long, and then asking them to trust you was a challenge. And being that community outreach person, to be that engagement piece of the project, was really fulfilling to me.
Absolutely. Well, I think it puts a lot of the framework around equity, right? Like there's this discussion about equity, and as I mentioned, this opportunity. That discussion is now taking place because of the work that you helped execute here in Stockton, and that we were able to take on. And I think in part it's because this is where you can prove your mettle, right? This is the idea that that's how you prove a concept, but you also help people at the same time. So it's not like it's just an experiment or it's just a test. You're literally impacting community and impacting a national narrative, a global narrative really, but certainly a national one that has taken a lot of the policy spaces by storm, and rightfully so.
And what would you recommend to a student who's attending Pacific who wants to get in that mix, who wants to get in this policy innovation world? I know that I was very fortunate to have an alum like you who, when I stepped foot into the mayor's office as an intern, you opened every door possible to me. You dragged me along with you. There was never a closed door. There was never a meeting that I couldn't attend with you. And I think Stockton has a great Pacific alumni network. So there's a lot of opportunity there. But what would you recommend to a student who wants to get involved in some very cool work being done in the city?
Yeah, I think my recommendation is find a couple things, right? So the one is the space. So everybody has an expertise or an area that they have an affinity for, and that area can be your strength that you lend to the work of a community, to the work of policymakers, to the work that needs to be done. And that could be whether it's like an art strength, a comms, a communication strength, expertise in political science and policy research. All of those things are extremely value add. So understand your own strengths and understand how you can channel your passions into some of that community work, because there is that opportunity. There are a number of folks in the community who are pushing for change, who are looking to engage, who are looking to innovate, and that's the exciting part, but also the helpful part, to know that there are folks that you can connect with that aren't going to close the door, but rather they're looking to open doors. In fact, many of them are looking to open doors because historically they had challenges in accessing opportunity. And so they were lucky, or through hard work or combination of both, they had doors open for them, and are now in that role where they're holding doors open for other folks.
Well, I think that's a good place to end it with the professional questions. We're sitting here on campus. Students are coming back in the fall. Okay. They're going to be experiencing the Stockton community for the first time, a lot of them. What would you recommend they go do? What would you recommend they go eat here in Stockton? What's your favorite spot?
Oh, man. This is probably like the hardest question you could ask me.
I know you love food.
I think of myself as a big foodie. One area I'd say just like highly recommend is that everyone check out is it's not any one place, it's the taco trucks. There's just there's a lot of them, and there's a lot of variety amongst them too. So what I used to do when I would have interns, whether it was when I worked in the legislature or with the mayor's office, sometimes bring interns along on a kind of like taco truck pilgrimage, and we'd go and hit just several at a time, right? A few at each spot. I mean, you'd be full by the end because you're only having, even if you're having just the one at each location, but you'd had a chance to explore a little bit of the mobile culinary expertise of our folks locally here. And then not far from here, there's a spot that I like. It's called Taqueria Carolina. It's always popping, and they have really, really good quesadillas. Yeah. If you get a quesadilla suiza there, it's like the fattest quesadilla you'll ever have. It's just, I mean, it's like a burrito quesadilla. It's like that. It's that thick. So if you're hungry, that's a really good spot. It's one I like to go to as well.
Well, there's plenty of options here. The most diversity in the nation. There's a lot of food to get through. Yeah. So thank you, Max, for coming to campus today, having a conversation with me, speaking to our prospective students. I think there's truly a lot of information here.
Thank you for the opportunity to talk to some of the next generation of alums and to be back home in a way, right? At this campus and sharing and breaking kind of stories and sharing information with you.
All right, well, thank you for joining us for this conversation with Max Vargas. Now we're going to take you off campus on a small little road trip.